Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the 2024 presidential election and doing a bit of poll analysis. This is, I think, the first video I'm going to be doing talking about specific state-level polls, and we're going to do more of these as we get closer to the election, but for now, this is, I guess, the first edition of poll analysis, and I do this every election year. I did this in 2020, and I did this a lot in 2022. And I think broadly, if you didn't watch my channel back in either of those elections, or if you don't really, or haven't really seen me do poll analysis before, I think, and obviously I'm biased because I want you to keep watching my videos, but I think poll analysis is really useful, especially when looking at crosstabs. And a lot of people don't like to do that. A lot of people really say, don't look at the crosstabs, you're going to get too into the weeds. But I think crosstabs are really good because they allow you to see the electorate in a much more sophisticated way than you would otherwise be seeing it if you're just looking at the top two numbers, on the headline, right? The way I think about polls is they are much more valuable when looking, like, if I could only see the top line for a poll, or I could only see the crosstabs, I'd choose to only see the crosstabs. I think those are more valuable than the number you're getting at the top, because it's like doing math. If you're plugging in the wrong numbers, you're going to get the wrong answer, and I think I would rather know what the numbers they're using are, because then in my head, I know that I'm going to be able to do the math right. If I can see the numbers, I can do it in my head. Whereas, getting getting an answer from someone else where you don't know the numbers they're using, I think it's a lot more useful to be able to look at it for yourself. So over the course of these next 11, 12 months, I'm going to be doing a lot of these poll analysis type videos. Today I'm not going to do too much crosstab stuff because Morning Consult is partially behind a paywall and they don't really do a ton of stuff here. But next time that I get some, polls, state level polls that have crosstabs, we'll dive into those. But for today, we're going to talk about what Morning Consult is saying. So I'm recording this Tuesday afternoon. They released this at 12, midday. Today, so I'm releasing this on Wednesday morning. But, if you're watching it on Wednesday, these polls came out yesterday, and they were really good for Donald Trump. They had Donald Trump winning Arizona by 4, winning Georgia by 6, winning Michigan by 4, Nevada by 3, North Carolina by 9, Pennsylvania by 2, and Wisconsin by 4. And so I put that on a map here. I didn't, really want to fill out the rest of the map because I think we can all kind of see. You don't need me to tell you that if Donald Trump wins all these states, he is a lock to win the presidency. There's no scenario in which Biden can win the presidency without something, insane happening, right? Like, if you gave him the states that he would probably win here, he doesn't get close to 270 electoral. He gets to 211, and he gets to do 26, and then you need to give him Texas, and he wouldn't even get it there. You'd have to give him, like, Ohio or something else. So it's pretty clear that if you gave Trump these states, doesn't matter the margins, he'd be winning the presidency easily. And probably, like, if he's winning Michigan, I bet he wins, a bunch of like Texas by 15, I bet, or maybe by 12. And I bet Biden's not really competitive in Ohio or Iowa either. So these polls are good for Trump. Make no mistake. I know a lot of people really don't like to look at early polls, and I think there's not too much value in them right now. If you want to predict the November results. But I think right now, it's clear that Biden's struggling. And I couldn't say for sure whether I think he'd be favored, or whether I think that Trump would be favored in an election if it were to happen tomorrow. But, here's what I will say. I think 2024 is going to be interesting. And obviously, that itself isn't a super hot take, but these polls, for the past 2-3 months, with very little exception, every single state poll has been really, really good for Trump. And this kind of relates back to context regarding 2020 and 2022 and even 2021, because in 2021, we saw that polls were giving conflicting messages, right? The generic ballot polls were pretty good for Democrats prior to the governor election in Virginia, but the state polls in Virginia were terrible for Democrats, and they showed Youngkin, winning by the time it was election day. Then in 2022, we saw national polls were pretty bad for Democrats. Biden's approval rating was terrible for Democrats. It was awful. But state polls, they were competitive, and we're winning a lot of states. They ended up winning. So the polls are showing completely different realities, right? Like in the world of national polls, it was this, or it was X. In the world of state polls, it was Y. And those two things don't happen, right? Like, you don't win as a Democrat. You're not winning Arizona by 10, but losing the popular vote by 5. That isn't. Those two things aren't happening on the same night. Maybe they happen on different nights. Maybe Democratic landslide year, they win Arizona by 10, but they're winning the national popular vote by 13. And then in a Republican year, they're winning the national popular vote by 7, and they win Arizona by 9. So, certainly, I would argue that 2024 is interesting because we haven't really seen a break in that trend yet, right? Like, Trump is ahead in both state polls and national polls. So every poll right now is showing the same thing. They all think Trump's winning, and there's not really any discrepancy in that narrative the way there has been in the past. So that's the first thing I think that shows this kind of isn't really a fluke, what I think a lot of Democrats are hoping it is. The second thing is that Biden's problems, and I talked about this in a previous video, Biden's problems are unfixable, I think. His two biggest liabilities within the American electorate, number one's age, and number two is the economy. And in the age column, Biden can't turn back time in 15 years. He's going to be 82 no matter what happens when he's running, or he'll be 81. He'll turn 82 in around Thanksgiving of 2024, so a few weeks after the election. So he'll be 81, going on 82 when he's debating Trump running for re-election. And I think everyone and their mother knows that Donald Trump's going to do everything he can to remind voters that Biden's old. And he did this in 2020. It wasn't as effective, but he called Biden Sleepy Joe, I think, almost every day. And in 2024, I would bet that we're going to see a pretty similar, trend here. And so I really think that Trump is going to, and whether it's effective or ineffective, I'm not sure yet, but I bet Trump makes age the number one issue this campaign for Joe Biden. And number two is the economy. And obviously, I think Trump talks about age a little more. I think he'll talk about the economy almost as much. The economy has been plaguing Biden for 3 years now, right? Because it's December 20. Yeah, so, almost 3 years. And I don't think that, since, I don't know, March or April 2021, I don't think since then we've seen a single poll that shows Biden with a positive net approval on the economy in, ever. That's 2 2/3 years of just atrocious polling. And so, yeah, maybe Biden can do a little better, right? If right now 35% of voters, this is a number I'm making up, but if right now 35% of voters say that they approve his handling of the economy, maybe it gets up to 37 on election day. That's a minor victory for Democrats. But, there's no way that we get, to anything close to resembling a positive consensus view of Biden's handling of the economy because we haven't seen it in years. And the economy's getting better. This is the thing. The economy's getting better. Inflation's gone down. It's 2.9% as of last month. It was 6% in August 2022 when the Inflation Reduction Act was passed. So Democrats, objectively, Democrats have done things to lower inflation. Biden's done things. He's at least trying to lower inflation and to make gas more affordable, which is also happening. And Americans don't care, right? So and again, I don't want to get into the, validity or merit of economic concerns Americans have. I will say I think economic concerns are almost always justified. I think right now a lot of people are struggling. And whether you can tie that to Biden or not up to me to tell you. Make your own decision on that, please. But it's pretty clear to me, just looking at this electorally, there's no path for Biden to recover. And they tried this with Bidenomics. That failed. And it was actually a blunder because Americans don't like the economy. Why would you ever put Biden's name on that if you're working his campaign? I think that was a pretty big misstep that they made. So there's no path to fixing either age or economic mistrust among Americans if you're Joe Biden. And that kind of puts him in a really compromised position because he can't he can't really do anything about that. And he's going to have to run for re-election next year. So unless he drops out, Democrats are entering 2024 multiple scores down. They can't win on age, and they can't win on the economy, so they have to pivot to other things. So they already have two. It's not even 2024 yet, and they already have two losing issues, they know they're going to get hammered on for all of 2024. Now, am I saying Donald Trump's perfect candidate? No. I think it's also pretty clear that Trump is a bad candidate electorally. He's going to likely get hammered for, obviously, the legal stuff. He's going to be spending a good part of 2024 defending himself in court, which is a liability for him. He's also just not a very popular president. He never had, pulled occasional polls, but he was consistently, only marginally more popular than Joe Biden in terms of approval rating. And I would argue that that isn't really worth anything, even if he's more popular, because he has a bigger base than Biden does, even though Biden might appeal to more of the American electorate. So, Trump's the guy who had a 40% approval rating for most of his tenure. He wasn't ever, a popular president. He's in legal trouble. He's old. I think he's past his prime. I think that he is, not the ideal candidate for Republicans either, in the same way Biden isn't the ideal candidate for Democrats. But he's ahead in the polls. And I think right now, he could plausibly win all these states. I think North Carolina, he's probably favored to win. I know a lot of people still think Biden's going to win it. I don't. Georgia's interesting because Biden will probably improve in the suburbs as Democrats do every year, but if he loses, it'll probably be because of it decreased turnout from Atlanta. I would argue that the same thing goes for Vegas and Phoenix within these two states. And then the Midwest, I think is better for Biden. I think he has less of a floor there. And Michigan, I still think Biden would win Michigan right now. If he were to run for president or run for re-election tomorrow, I think he'd probably win Michigan. I think he might even win Pennsylvania, but I don't think he'd win Wisconsin. And so, give Trump any one of these three states, he wins the presidency, assuming he doesn't lose like Texas or something ridiculous like that. So, right now, maybe if you made me do the math, I'd give Trump the slight edge over Biden. It's close because Biden's the incumbent and because the electoral map is, favoring. Obviously, the system favors Republicans, but Democrats have more locked up electoral votes than Republicans do in any given election. So, really, Trump has to win more toss-up states than Biden does to win the presidency. So, you can approach this multiple ways, but if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Biden's unpopular, Trump's unpopular, but the biggest issues of 2024, age and the economy, I think are fundamentally unfixable if you're a Democrat. Could I be wrong? Maybe. Maybe Biden rebounds in the economy. He definitely isn't rebounding on age. I know that for sure. The economy, there's like a 1% chance he can maybe message his way out of or something like that, or convince Americans that Trump wouldn't be any better, something like that. But in my book, Biden's already down 2 scores, and we haven't even entered 2024 yet. In these polls, this isn't like a fluke scenario in which national polls are saying one thing and state polls are saying another thing, so you can't really tell. Usually, if you're down in the state polls but you're ahead in the national polls, you can kind of use that as a way to say, look, things aren't as bad as they seem. But right now, I think everything is going bad for Biden, and I genuinely think that there's a really underrated chance that he's not reelected. So those are my thoughts. Again, I look forward to doing this more in the future. It's still 11 months away. What is happening now probably won't be happening in November 2024. Trump could be peaking too early. I think this happens a lot in politics. Politicians get momentum. They can't sustain it for another 11, 12 months. That could totally happen. But for now, I think those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.